Kaixo, buenas tardes y bienvenidos a esta nueva edición de las conferencias online de Maker for Bilbao. Este es el último tramo del festival de esta novena edición y hoy vamos a hablar de uno de los sentidos que probablemente más infravalorado esté, pero que con todo esto de la pandemia del COVID de repente hemos de alguna manera despertado hacia lo importante que era. Yo, por ejemplo, acabo de pasar el COVID hace escasas semanas y es verdad que perder el olfato es bastante perturbador, ¿no? Se te puede quemar la cafetera, no puedes saber si lo que utilizabas para orientarte funciona. Y dentro de este contexto, el taller que hemos hecho estos días tiene todo el sentido del mundo, porque hemos aprendido ese misterioso oficio de hacer diseño de aromas, porque como sabéis, Maker Faire lo que intenta siempre es, de alguna manera, diseminar cosas que ya existen, pero con el enfoque hazlo tú mismo, en el que todo el mundo puede ser partícipe y todo el mundo puede ser creador de todo tipo de objetos, o en este caso fragancias. Y tenemos al mejor profesor posible de esto. Tenemos con nosotros a Frank Bloem, que es básicamente una de esas personas que hace que las tecnologías abiertas sean posibles. ¿Por qué? Pues porque se toma la molestia de entender cómo funcionan, de desmitificarlas, de traducirlas en metodologías que todo el mundo puede utilizar y de repente algo que era un campo muy rodeado de secretos y de misterio, como el diseño de perfumes y aromas, pues se convierte en algo en el que todo el mundo puede participar. Y eso es lo que hemos hecho en estos días en la fábrica de galletas. Hemos jugado con nuestra memoria, hemos aprendido a seguir las fórmulas y las metodologías necesarias para poder hacer lo que se llama diseño de aromas, que es un campo también emergente y que tal vez en otras ediciones hablemos de la parte más tecnológica, donde se está trabajando también en el concepto de narices digitales para detectar no solamente olores, sino contaminación y otro tipo de cosas que ya eso es otra historia porque tendríamos que estar con un programa más electrónico. Frank, que es nuestro invitado de hoy, hola Frank, es de Netherlands, de Holanda. Él era artista y en algún momento de su trayectoria artística se dio cuenta de que lo que le interesaba realmente era profundizar en la parte de los aromas y se ha convertido ahora mismo en uno de los máximos referentes que hay a nivel europeo y probablemente mundial, porque esto es un campo tan nuevo que hay muy pocos expertos. Entonces, después de este taller, espero que encontremos momentos para generar una comunidad alrededor de todo su trabajo, pero lo importante es que sigamos con ese enfoque de compartir conocimiento y de aprender cómo funcionan las cosas, incluido cosas tan milenarias como el diseño de aromas. Frank, hello. Let's switch to English. How are you?
Yes, I'm good.
Do I smell good?
You smell, yeah, you smell. I haven't smelled you, but well, there is a lot of smell in the air here, so everybody that smells good now at this
well, thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing all the knowledge. Thank you for the patience, and thank you for what you're doing, basically, because as I was saying in Spanish, people like you are the ones that demystify disciplines that were in a black box somehow, and we didn't know how they work. Perfume is this millenary tradition that right now is very, closed in a secret because there's a big business around it. So I'm always amazed and surprised by the generosity of people like you that come and show the recipe and explain all the tricks and all the scents and all the aromas. And then what was a mystery doesn't stay as a mystery, but it becomes something that anybody could participate in. No?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. When I started working with perfume, I'm an artist. I'm a fine artist. I studied fine arts at the Retail Academy in Amsterdam. So for years I've been busy with visual art, and at a certain point I discovered smell as I didn't thought it was a way of making art. I thought I was stepping out a bit of the art world with designing perfumes and using smell for other projects. But as I did so, also in art world and design world, people became more and more interested in smell. So there became a small group of people being more and more interested in it. And yeah, I don't have a big company, so I don't need to be secretive about this. So I'd like to share it with everybody.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the artistic part of what you're doing, because right now we do it yourself and open source and the ethic of sharing. Basically, artists can can transform life itself, and this is what you're doing. You're just opening the door of something that was very secretive, and maybe we will get into some details. But before, let's go back to the beginning. No, I'm really curious about your story, because you studied philosophy before joining the Academy of Fine Arts.
That's true. Yeah.
And then you will build very, very big installations with multidisciplinary sensorial experiences. And then at some point you said, oh, let's get rid of everything and focus on the smell.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I started studying philosophy also in Amsterdam, and while doing so, it was a bit, I was very interested in it, but there were also other things that were interesting. So I stopped doing that, studying philosophy, and at a certain point, I discovered that maybe art would be a better thing for me to do. Taking with me the knowledge that I gained while studying philosophy, of course, and working in the field of art. I did a lot of things, also cooperative things with companies, and I didn't stuck to the art for art thing, but I always did all kind of other things. And the reason when I really discovered smell was with an art project I did in the north of the Netherlands, where there was a lot of there used to be a lot of whaling. The Netherlands, we're not proud of it, but we did a lot of whaling in the past, and there were whole villages that were very good at taking whales apart. So they dragged the whale to a beach and then they took it apart, and it smelled horribly. And I did an art project there for an art place, and it was an installation with all kind of things, drawings and text, and my own voice, but also the smell of ambergris, which comes from sperm whales. And in 2012, a whale washed ashore in the Netherlands, and it was filled with big chunks of ambergris. So the company or the organization that they get then a whale. This was a nature organization, so they give the whale to them and they take it apart, and they make an exposition of the bones, and they found very big chunks of this precious ambergris inside of the whale. So it was a bit about that, and so I discovered working with smell in an art, as an extra sense to art. And then I got more and more interested in working with smell, and a bit obsessed with perfume making. And I thought, well, this is nice. I don't have to carry all these big stuff around anymore in my car. I can work with very small things and create a whole big thing. Smell fills all the spaces, so it is always very present.
And very deep, because it goes straight to the memory, straight to the heart, and it's it is this material that somehow dreams are made of.
Yeah, some people even dream in smell. I never had a smell dream. I don't know if you
No,
ever had a smell dream?
I don't remember, but I'm not, I don't remember that well my dreams.
No.
And then, your trajectory in the last decade is, very, very, you saw the crack on the walls, and all the projects that you do are wonderful, but we want to focus also on the technical part of the aspect. So let's just mention maybe 2 projects. Maybe we can start with the one that you did with the North Sea.
Yeah, there is the other one that's more, but this is the reason. Yeah, this is the.
Could you explain us first the concept of the Embassy of the North Sea, and then tell us a little bit about what you did with them?
Yes, so the Embassy of the North Sea is an organization is now based in the Netherlands, but it will be a broader organization in the end, because it will be around the whole North Sea, and there's many more countries connected to the North Sea. And what they want to create is a platform that can speak on behalf of the North Sea. So in decision making about the North Sea, they can be consulted, and they can say, well, this is a good idea because, speaking on behalf of the North Sea, they can say this is good or bad for the North Sea.
Giving nature its own lawyer, no?
Yeah, kind of. There is somewhere in New Zealand, I think, a mountain or a river that already has has a voice of its own, and there is a mountain somewhere else. So this is not the first time that this happens.
No, and it's a concept that is gaining traction, actually.
Yeah. And they, well, in order to, it's a long project. They're going to do it for 10 years. And in the first steps in the first year were trying to, or were asking artists to start a project based on senses, so smell, sound, well, all the other senses. Every artist had their own sense. I had smell, of course. To do a project, so they got information from the North Sea, because it's very vain to say I can speak on behalf of the North Sea. So they try to get a more humble point and ask, see, well, how can you find this voice? And what I did, I made a big collection of 40 smells from, and the sea smell coming from the North Sea, but you also immediately smell the shops around on the coastline that sell fries, and so the Dutch shore smells of French fries. But there is also a steel factory, producing a lot of smoke and giving its smell to the air. And so there is many different aspects in the smell, in the collective smell. And I found 40. So there's of course also like fish and plants that grow along the coast.
And diesel.
Yeah, gunpowder. I also went into history. The English and the Dutch were always fighting
each other.
So there was gunpowder smells a lot hovering above the North Sea. The main component of the sea smell is dimethyl sulfide. That's a chemical product that is produced by a lot of animals, but also plants that live in the sea. So that's the common sea smell idea. If you come closer to the sea, you trace something in the air. That's most often dimethyl sulfide. So that was a big component of the sea smell.
Sulfato de dimetil, I think, in Spanish.
Yeah.
Now this is wonderful.
Yeah, so I also it's built up in a year, in the time span of a year. If you go up a bit, there you see the way I exhibited on the beach. You see a ton with the smell on top of it. There is a bottle where you can press a ball and then you can smell the insides, and there was always a text connected with the smell and a small drawing that I made, because it's very hard for people to smell something without context. So you always have to give some story or some information before people smell, because otherwise the smell, the brain goes in all directions. So you want to be a bit guided into smelling.
Yeah, because maybe there are some things that are universally, disgusting. But as you were saying the other day, cheese and feet, it's the same molecule, and one we eat it very deliciously, and the other one we run away from it.
Yeah, it's true. It's butyric acid. We hate it when it comes from feet, and we love it when it comes from cheese.
What's the name of the molecule again?
Butyric acid.
Butyric.
But in Dutch it's boterzuur, butter acid. So it was also what you smell when butter gets bad after a while. And it is present in cheese. It's a big component of the smell of cheese. Chips makers, when they make cheese chips, they put just butyric acid in it, and then everybody thinks, oh, cheese.
And then, because we want to go to the workshop table, maybe we can go to the other project that we wanted to mention, which is the one that you made with the zoo, which is this one, or
this one. This is the elephants.
The elephants and Artis.
Yeah, so Artis is the zoo in Amsterdam, and they asked me that they made a new enclosure for the elephants, and they wanted a route around it to give information to the people. And one of they made different installations. Also, like the senses were the starting point. So I did the smell, and there's 3 poles coming from the ground. And you can smell from this one the fertile female elephant. Here you can smell the male elephant in rut. That's once a year. He smells very bad, really awful. And the young male elephant that has a more pleasant smell. It smells a bit like banana. And I made an elephant smell, and I attached the smells to it. Elephants smell much better than we do, so I needed to enhance these smells a bit. And together with the University of Amsterdam, we researched a bit what chemicals the elephants were using, and I did not use the same elements because it's also pheromones. So when this was bowls filled with pheromones of elephants, the elephants that are close by would get crazy. So I could not use that. So I translated it to a less harmful chemical. And now it's present in the zoo in Amsterdam.
What are these bowls made of? I'm curious.
They're made from copper.
Copper.
Yeah, and they have different things because children need to
Different
have a lower opening. Yeah, and this one is connected to the stable, so here you can smell directly the stable.
No, it's curious now that you said that all these pheromone is usual. And maybe let's go to the board and then start getting a bit more technical so we can tell the audience about what we're doing in the workshop. But human beings and life is basically a chemical and electrical machine.
Yes.
No? And when you were reading about the history of scent and perfume, what did you realize changed? Because this idea of putting perfumes in our bodies is something relatively recent, no?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have been putting perfume on us. Well, we have been doing it for the past 200 years or so. Before that, we didn't do that. We had stuff that was perfumed. So people wear leather gloves that were perfumed. You could smell from the leather if it came from Spain or if it came from Russia. But there's different perfume ingredients in Spain than in Russia. In Russia it was a bit more animalic and a bit more smoke-like and maybe more like the leather that we smell when you buy a leather bag, what you smell now today. But for instance, the leather that came from Spain was perfumed a lot more with citrus kind of smells. So that was much fresher and I think also maybe more pleasant, but depends on. And people put, for instance, you could buy a sheet of leather, perfumed leather, and that you could place on your table, and then you could write letters on it, and the letters got infused with the perfume from the leather. So the letter got infused by the leather, and
so the leather was a container of our perfume.
Yeah, so the leather contained the perfume. The reason was also that the process of making leather is a very smelly process. So they used the perfume to cover up the bad smells of the leather production. So that's a bit the past.
And then around 200 years ago, I think in France, because you told me the story before, the discipline of perfume started to rise in the 19th century.
Putting perfume ingredients in alcohol and mixing, and perfume ingredients are distilled oils from plant material, from citrus peels. There is a lot of oil in citrus peels, so you can press the oil out of the peels. Literally, you don't have to distill them. But other plants, you need to distill them, and you get an essential oil. And that's the old-fashioned way of making perfume. So you see it here on the board. This is what I use for the workshop. People get, for me, a small bottle that is 90% filled with ethanol and 10% empty.
And the ethanol has to be specific ethanol, it has to be non-denaturalized or denaturalized with beeswax, right?
Yeah, so it can be denaturated, but it needs to be denaturated with a product that doesn't have smell. For instance, spiritus, and spiritus also...
drinks.
No, not drinks. No, where you can clean with. The Bloem.
Okay.
I don't know what's the name of that. In Spanish?
I don't remember the commercial name. And they're not sponsored. So
the big blue bottles there, and you can clean everything. Okay. You can also light it. That's also ethanol, but it has a very strong, horrible smell that is added to the ethanol. So you don't use that. You use just either pure ethanol or denaturated with beeswax. That's a very bitter product. and that prevents you from drinking it because it's so bitter. And well, for perfume, that's not a problem. You would expect perfume to taste a bit bitter, so that's okay. And the rest of it is perfume. So 10% is this essential oils that I talked about.
And depending on the concentration, it can be...
Yeah, so when it's very concentrated, high concentration, it's called perfume. We are used to this, 10 to 15% eau de parfum. And when it's 5, so that's this 10%. When it's 5%, it's eau de toilette. And when it's, and also eau de cologne, for instance. And 2% is aftershave. That's very light. It goes away quite fast.
And so during the workshop, people would infuse with these drops following your instructions, no? And there is also something related with this pyramid.
Yeah, this pyramid, it's a classical way of putting perfume together. There is ingredients that evaporate very fast. There's ingredients that evaporate very slowly. They can stay on your skin a whole day. And there is this middle group. So you work with these 3 groups. It's the easiest way because then it is kind of chaotic to work with all the smells and everything. So it's good to have a system, and the system is the top, the middle, and the base. The top notes, they disappear a quarter of an hour after you spray the perfume on. Then the middle notes, they disappear after 1.5 hours or something. And the base notes, they can stay on your skin for the whole day. So the dry down of a perfume is the base. And we start when we put it together, we start with the base because it's hard to smell through it. If you would put first the top notes in, you all the time smell the top notes. And when you do the base, you first can make your base, and then the middle, and then the middle notes cover the base a bit, so you can trace a bit more what you're doing while making it. So that's what
let's smell some of the scents that
some of the ingredients.
Yeah.
So we've been making perfume.
Realización, ¿nos oímos bien o muevo el micrófono un poco? Okay, I'm gonna just bring the mic over here.
So we start with the base note. Here, these ones.
Patchouli, for instance, over here.
Patchouli, yes. But those, you can smell also on here because this is what we use. Birch, this is birch tar. That comes from the birch tree, and it's also what you when you have smoked food. What's on the outside of cheese, smoked cheese or smoked whatever, and you can also use it for perfume if you want a bit of smokiness to your perfume. You can use the birch tar.
Castoria, what is that?
Castoria. Yeah, there is some ingredients that come from animals. I talked about the whales. There is castoria that comes from the beaver. Castor is beaver in Spain. Yeah. And then there is civet. That's a cat. It has a more cat-like secretion.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm still at 50% after COVID.
But this can help to get your smell back.
Yeah, you can train it actually, right?
Especially when it's such a strong and awful smell as castoria. Well, it is not awful, but it has this cat pee-like smell at first. When you smell through it, you get more of a rose-like smell. And what this does, this civet, for instance, it binds with other smells. See if you get the cat pee. It binds with other smells and it helps them to come off your body. So some ingredients that helps them more to contain, to last longer, and some help them to get into a room, for instance. And civet is one, an old-fashioned one, that helps to project the smell.
Then this is ambergris, which is what you told about the whales.
That comes from the whales, yeah. Olibanum is a tree resin that is more tree in Far East. They make incisions in the bark, and then the olibanum sap comes out of the tree and it crystallizes. That's used a lot in churches as incense. So they burn it on coals.
You got musk.
Musk is also from an animal, from a musk deer. It has
Yeah, the
pleasant.
animal smells are very intense, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe it has also to do with the,
Yeah,
the danger
yeah,
memory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, and they are a classical way of not only making it into a floral smell, but making it into really a perfume, a more diverse thing than only just a pleasant flower.
This is the classical vanille. It
Yeah,
smells like my
vanille,
favorite.
vanillin,
Benzanale.
benzaldehyde. Yeah, that's a smell. Do you smell it?
Yeah.
It's an almond smell.
Mm-hmm.
And almonds, when you smell almonds, you sometimes have to be aware because it's also the smell of cyanide. So
What is cyanide?
cyanide will kill you. It's
a poison.
It's a poison. It is present.
Cyanuro, cyanide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cyanide. In Dutch, it's called cyanide, and it.
And then we have labdanuk.
Labdanum, yeah, that comes from a plant in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, we will do a tutorial explain a bit of the smell. So everybody who is interested on this, don't worry, and you can also come to the factory.
Yeah, because
at some
it's
point.
Boring for the people at home if we
because
smell,
they cannot
so
smell
such
everything.
Lovely things, but they can't.
Yeah, but it's interesting just to give them the flavor and to give them the ingredients, because probably then we have everything related.
This is the middle. Mm-hmm. That's more the flowers. So we have rose, geranium, lavender,
coconut.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are some. So there is some flowers, but there is also some aldehydes. They are sometimes considered more top notes because they're very fresh, but they also interconnect when you are working with perfume with the flower part of the perfume. They can also bind well with the flowers and help them come off the
I put
skin.
some on my mask, actually.
Yeah, you can do. So this floral part is in the middle. Gamma decolacton, this is more peach, the smell of a peach skin. I like it very much.
Oh, this is, candy for the nose. I mean, it could stay like this forever. And what would happen, for instance, if I try to perfume myself just with the essential oil? It will evaporate too fast, or it would not stick?
Because it's so concentrated. You see, there is a lot of warnings already on the bottle.
So it's because it can be hazardous for the skin.
It can be hazardous for the skin. So you almost always need to dilute it to a percentage that's not harmful.
And why alcohol? Why alcohol is a great vehicle for this?
Alcohol evaporates immediately. So you put it on your skin, and because of the warmth of your skin, it goes away immediately, and therefore you have the pure stuff on your skin. You can also put it in oil, for instance, and then it still is. You can put it on your skin, but the oil stays as well on your skin. So the oil prevents it a bit from coming off. Therefore, you don't smell as.
Yeah, but it's more grimy, so it makes total sense. I guess this is something that has been tried for centuries until they found the right solution.
Yeah.
And then we have all the top smells, which are more diverse, you could say.
Top smells are more the citrus ingredients. They come from the peels of the citrus fruit. There is some kitchen herbs, like what do we have here? Basil, mint,
orange grass.
Yeah, pine tree. There's some trees. This is orange. This is the pine. The needles of the pine tree. There is cedar wood. That's another tree. That's more the pencil kind of smell. But when you sharpen your pencil, what you smell then? Yeah. And we have a water smell that was used a lot here because we have here in Bilbao the river. So it was a popular one, the Sentinel.
But how do you create the water smell actually?
It's a chemical. The water has no smell, of course. So we cannot smell water. We can only smell the things that are in the water. That gives a watery sensation. Or for instance, when you cut into a watermelon, what you smell then, that's a chemical, and those chemicals are used a lot in perfume to give the sensation of water. So it gives more a bit of a sensation than that it is really the smell of water. So when you want to make a perfume smell, you can use this, and then you get the aquatic type of perfumes that we are used to, but they don't smell really like water. They smell like perfume.
And in this area, we have a lot of chemical like dimethyl sulfite, diethyl C12, sobutylphen.
Yeah. This was the second day. So the first day we were making perfume, and we went outside after having made perfume. We went outside to search for some smells here in the neighborhood. And the second day we tried to make a smell connected to memories, connected to Bilbao, connected to the stories that people came with. And for that we also need some extra ingredients, because it's not meant to be per se pleasant. So I had also some unpleasant smells, and let me see which was the most.
I have to smell the unpleasant too.
You have to smell the unpleasant too.
Okay.
Well, this is the dimethyl sulfide we talked about, the C ingredient. So yeah. Smells some. It smells a bit
strong, but it's not that bad. I've smelled worse.
Yeah, well, what it is with these smells, they are pure. They come from a bottle, so you will not react as intensely on it when it comes from a horrible thing. When this comes from a dustbin, you react differently than when you smell it here. So there is this.
We could do the horrible perfume workshop. That would be good for Halloween.
Yeah, this is also maybe a smell you recognize.
It's very subtle.
It's maybe because you suffered from corona and your nose is still recovering. But it is, it is the
Curious
smell.
Because I don't smell everything at the same intensity.
No.
There are some smells that I've gotten back and others that are taking longer, I think.
That's what I heard a lot from people that went through corona, that it's so strange that some things you smell very well, some things maybe too well even, and some things you really don't smell anymore, and they will come back eventually.
And what would you advise to somebody who feels that they haven't gotten back their smell? Maybe they can train it, as you said before?
Yeah, what I heard was that you need to smell extreme things. So you have to smell onions and other extremities, and that will give a kick to your brain
and
to get
do the
things.
reset.
Yeah. So this was a horse. This was horse.
Oh,
smell
of
the horse. Yeah.
Well,
the horse.
There's a long way. If I cannot smell horse as well yet, I'm still not there.
It's what you smell when you pass by a stable with horses. So it's not really like
the manure.
It is in the manure. It's a product that people and animals make, and it defines the smell of the animal. Goats have their own creosote. Humans have a creosote. Horses have creosote.
And this is what you try to smell, for instance, or something similar when you do these experiments in Dutch TV, trying to smell whether somebody has a cat or a dog, or vegetarian and meat eater are different. But what do you smell to make the difference between somebody who has a cat and a dog?
Yeah, well, what they did was they blindfolded me and they lined up cat and dog lovers. And I had to smell. They sat in front of me. I was blindfolded, and I had to smell them. And in the beginning, you don't know what to smell for, but after a while, you get an idea of what it could be. So you think, oh, this could be. It's not very clear. I cannot. If you put one person in front of me, it's very hard. But when you have a whole like 20, then you kind of find something in it,
like a pattern.
And in the beginning, it was a bit hard, but from the 20 there, I had 14 correct and 6 wrong. So it was
They probably put perfume on the 6 that you were wrong.
No, the people they smell, of course, like the stuff they wash themselves with, and their clothing smell. So you have to really learn to smell through that as well. to ignore a bit all the perfume and all the stuff.
And then using all these ingredients and the recipe,
Yeah.
we landed on these beautiful scents that are, you know, stuff that greens are made of.
Yes.
I think you were happy with the diversity of the participants, no?
Yeah, it was really great. We had a lot of ages, men, women. They came from different places, so we had a lot of people. And as I said, I sent them home on Saturday with the task of finding a good smell memory, and coming back the other day with that memory and trying to recreate the smell memory with the ingredients that I brought. So there was a wide variety. Some people really remembered from the past in Bilbao that there were shops where you can buy wine in gallons, and they had a very specific smell. So that was a good, a good memory to work with. Other people remembered.
No, and the stories are super beautiful. If you don't mind, I might read in Spanish. Por ejemplo, esta de la bodeguilla de Yolanda, que explica que su barrio era un barrio de gente sencilla, obrera, y que ella recordaba ir de la mano de su madre y de repente pues, había un fuerte olor a alcohol, a uva, aguardiente y madera que la paraba en seco justo delante de la bodeguilla. Y ella utilizó, por ejemplo, 4 drops of Bishtar, 3 de cuero, 10 de iris, 4 de cedro, 6 de six y 3 sex y 1 de clearwood, ¿no? We have also the concrete flower, que era de Andrea, que de las lluvias de primavera sobre las baldosas de piedra decían una multitud de flores y plantas urbanas. Entonces ella mezcló 2 de gama de cal con 1 de cis 3 sex, con 1 de greenwood, 3 de moss, 1 de cuero, 4 de cedar, 1 de ámbar, 1 de yang y 2 de geranio. Barcazas de la Ría, Industrial Happiness, que mezcla varios aromas. Y bueno, es que podría estar aquí leyéndolos todos porque cada experiencia de ustedes. So they're wonderful stories, and you really put them in the idea of trying to build a story around the scent, because the context, as we said before, is as important as the...
Yeah, and it helps very much when you smell something, when you know the story, to guide you into smelling it, and also maybe also even understand why somebody else tells this story and understanding the importance. For me, it helps, for instance, me who have never been to Bilbao before, I got a very vivid idea of not only Bilbao nowadays, but also Bilbao in the past. There was a lot of factories here, and there was different things produced like steel or cookies here in this place. So that also always gave a smell to the whole city, and of course that disappeared now. So that's for some people they don't bother, but I can imagine that other people also maybe you try to, or maybe don't like it that it's so odorless nowadays.
Yeah, you could call that smell archaeology, no?
Smell archaeology, yeah.
Then we have Mike that did recuerdos, aroma que defendían los pequeños talleres al lado de la lóndiga, donde se hicieron los botes de vino, con el olor a piel, empujidos. Y ahí son 5 botas de iris, 2 de la Blanc, 3 de Bishar, 4 de Cena, 3 de Earl Grey y 4 de Centenal. Aquí podemos...
Yeah, you can, there is a content underneath these glasses.
But I can also smell
You can
the...
smell it like that. You can smell it. And it works very well.
Si alguien está viéndonos y está cerca de Solosaure, estaremos abiertos aquí estaremos hasta yo creo que hasta las 8 o algo por el estilo. Podéis venir aquí a oler los perfumes que ha hecho la gente, y la otra sorpresa que tenemos aquí es un perfume de Bilbao. Y, por ejemplo, la desembocadura. Viví cerca de la playa de Llaga, recuerdo este aroma tan particular del encuentro del agua y del mar y la ría sucia, la mezcla. Y para los habitantes de esta zona, esta extraña mezcla no es muy agradable y no siempre bienvenida. This is an unpleasant smell in theory by Joshua. Well, it smells strong, but it smells worse. And she used 1 of bergamot, 14 of centenal, 1 of Gemit del Sur, 3 de amber gris, 1 of cedarwood, 1 de tibet y 1 de hilo. Coral de piedra de Julián, de Ecuador de Estudio, el estudio de impresión 3D y cerámica que ahora está ya en la fábrica de galletas con nosotros, que pensó en una caminata por el bosque en otoño, donde tus pasos se remueven la tierra y el olor a humedad y madera alcanza la nariz, transporta un paseo rodeado de hojas con tonalidades amarillas, cafés y marrones. Y ahí usó 6 de Ammo Max, 5 de Clear Wood, 3 de Udar Wood y 1 de Waterman. How do the mixing process, once we put the drops on, Frank, do we have to shake it? How does it work?
Yeah, you shake it.
You shake it?
Yeah, you put it in, you put the drops in. And it can change if you have to. That's normally you take a lot more time to produce it because it's when after you drop it in, you smell it and you think, oh, this sounds great, this is exactly what I want. And a day later, it merged a bit and it totally changed. So you need to go back and
readjust it somehow.
Yeah. So ideally, I work myself for much longer on it. So a few months it can take to make the good smell.
Months?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you have to see how it evolves, and then you have to see the, you know.
Yeah, especially when it is perfume, you want to test it on your skin, see it. As I told, when you spray it on, it has a certain smell, but it evolves in time. So it's not like an image that you can see at once. It's more like music or something that you need to follow how it evolves. So it can sometimes take a long time, and you also don't want to be too much busy with one thing. So I work with different things at the same time, and then a week later I go back to it and reassess it a bit.
So time is also an ingredient in scent design.
Yeah.
Then we have Poppy Street number 5 by María, donde nos habla de cómo el sol ha hecho cambiar la hierba, un color amarillento que ya no huele tan fresco, que ahora huele a mayo y que en la cocina huele a membrillo, manzanas, cebollas metálicas, cocinando arroz jazmín. Y es de noche que su padre termina el trabajo en el garaje y viene con hierro y plástico caliente de la industria cercana y la gente se barbacoa afuera. Y ella utilizó 4 de olivander, 3 de patchouli, una de Benstar, un C16. What is C16?
C16 is an aldehyde, chemical product, and it smells like strawberries.
Oh, because getting the strawberries from the strawberries is not that easy.
No, that's impossible. Some things you can't distill. Some smells are too weak or too faint, or they disappear in the process of distilling. So there are some chemicals that were invented in the last century to get all these strange smells.
So when we eat ice cream, strawberry ice cream, are we eating strawberry, but also a little bit of that C16?
Probably the C16 is in there, yeah.
And then she also used the 3 cistes, indol, isobutil fenilateceno, no, the isobutil fenilacetato, perdón.
Yeah.
4 de cumarina y una de metildiracina. Is there a special scent here that you would like to highlight from the ones that I just mentioned? I'm curious about the chemical ones.
The
you know?
isobutyl acetate, that's the chocolate. That's not. It doesn't really smell like chocolate. Most often they don't smell. They use when you buy them they say, oh, this smells like chocolate, and you get them and you don't get anything of the chocolate. What's chocolate about this? But then I learned that you want to add to it, and then you get this very chocolate thing. And this isobutyl acetate is a bit. I don't know if there was a chocolate factory here in Bilbao, but where I grew up, there was a chocolate factory. And as a child, when the chocolate factory was at work, you could smell this in the air. It is very bit heavy, not so pleasant, but sensation for people that know what the chocolate factory smells like.
It's curious how the industrial era also changed us in the way that we associate some smells with things that we think are, you know, food or natural products, but there's actually in the back end there's a chemical reconstruction of it.
Well, it's not always a reconstruction. Quite often it's chemically the same. So a plant makes a molecule, and a factory makes the same molecule,
but synthetically.
So the production process is different, but the end result is the same. So only plants most often produce a whole range of smells of molecules. So when you distill it from a plant, it's kind of a perfume in itself. That's the essential oils. and from a factory you get an isolated molecule, so that's more clear, clean smell of one thing.
Then we have by Jose, we have Bilbao water, a classic here in Bilbao history. So, la historia de Bilbao en los últimos 2 siglos ha estado muy ligada al hierro, a la industria pesada, al transporte marítimo y a otras actividades portuarias, y todo eso le da ese aroma que une naturaleza, donde encontramos todo tipo de vegetación. Entonces menciona el hierro, el humo, la sal, la humedad, la tierra, que son parte del carácter de Bilbao. And he used pichar, olibanum, patchouli, vanilla, lavender, iris, alpha isometilonon. What is that weird combination of words?
That's the alpha isomethylene. I have to think what that is.
Oh, it's okay. You cannot know them all.
So quite often I know the smells very well, and because it's very complicated names all the time.
No, you tell me.
So
having
sometimes
to think twice before pronouncing.
The other way it goes fast. Yeah.
And then we have Ana, smells like Sunday, with 2 of Castorea, 3 de Bichtar, una de Olivano, and keeps on and on. Así que I would advise, recomiendo a todo el mundo que esté cerca que por favor se pase, porque yo os puedo contar todo, pero olerlo es espectacular. Y yo creo que ¿cómo vamos de tiempo? Igual y deberíamos de pasar. Y también, si tenemos preguntas del público, por favor, podéis ir mandándolas por el chat, tanto en Facebook Live como en Instagram, como en YouTube. Pero también podemos ahora, yo creo que mirar la obra final, que fue el perfume con aroma de Bilbao, que está por aquí. Let's go to this beautiful installation that we put right here in the middle.
Yes.
Let's get here. And in here, in the middle, if we add some water, I think, over here, we should smell the smell of Bilbao. There's a button. Andrea from Studio Petit Müller was the assistant of Frank during these days.
Did a very good job, helped me a lot with all kind of things.
Merci. So this is the smell of Bilbao. This is the perfume of Bilbao.
Yeah, what we try to do, what I try to do is all the smells that in the whole weekend, especially when we're making all these stories of Bilbao, what was in the air, I try to put in. Put in this. So this is the complete story is more like what do you smell when the river and the sea come together?
Mm-hmm.
When there is the history of the industrial smokiness and the factories, the cookies, but also the steel factories.
Mm-hmm.
There is some harshness of the steel, but also other more pleasant experiences and memories, like with the wine and all kind of things. So it's a merge. I don't know if people recognize it, but this is also what we found outside. So the cookies that are connected to this factory.
Some
many,
bricks.
Yeah, many of the places where the factories were are now overgrown by moss. So it's you get the concrete smells, but you also get the nature smells that's coming in. The moss is growing now on those places.
Yeah, but the tension between industrialization and humanity's hand and nature is very, very present in the history of the city. And its landscape too, because as you saw, we are surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the city has this feeling of being a huge garage where everybody was making stuff or doing screws or repairing cars, chimneys all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I really like not only the smell, but also the execution of the mise en scène is super beautiful. What's your impression of the city after these days with us?
Well, the impression is a bit that's a pity that all the factories are gone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it seems a bit like a city that needs to reinvent itself smell-wise still.
Yeah.
So there was a whole history of smell here, and it disappeared, kind of. And you got all this, the Guggenheim, but it's all odorless. So
there is a void that can be filled with smells.
No, we need like the equivalent of the Guggenheim effect with smell, but connected with the memory and with the things
some
that
new
happen.
memories with smell can be made. The Guggenheim doesn't have. There is no smell connected to the Guggenheim, or do you think there is Guggenheim smell?
Guggenheim smell, depending on the exhibition, I would say, but it smells like a museum, you know, and like smell besides retail, I think is something that is not, maybe restaurants play with it, maybe some how do you call it? Some shops I think also use these perfumes, but in general, in all type of 20th century institution are all odorless, which is a shame. This is something that we should work upon.
Yeah, when it's new, you smell it a bit. It's not a bit like new stuff.
Yeah, it's not like the new furniture is in here.
But it's not only here, of course. In many places where factories disappeared and where people learned to wrap things to get rid of smells, and yeah, that's obviously also a good thing. Otherwise, it would be very, very horrible to be in some places. But on the other hand, maybe it went too much to the odorless side.
And maybe everything smells like lemon now. You know, this standardization of everything. Is also affecting the diversity of smelliness. And what would you do? You know, perfume if you were the president, for instance, or somebody with power to put perfume or something that you say, okay, this is something that we should rethink.
Well, maybe also, I was just talking, the football stadium seems to be odorless now. Football is a sport that creates a lot of smell. Of course, you're running on grass and there's soil and dust and sweat. And everybody remembers probably the dressing room after a football match that smells. And by making these big football stadiums, you don't smell anything of that anymore. So that can be changed a bit more, or you can.
Yeah, but we have to be careful. You know, stadiums can be, you know, the beginning of a riot if you put too many pheromones on that.
Yeah, that's also. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah. The question is, do you adapt the stadium or do you change the people?
Well, that's the thing. It reminded me of this project that you told me in the metro, I think, where they were using some kind of smell strategy also to actually create some social effects.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to be busy with a project in Rotterdam here in the Netherlands city, and they have a problem with the subway. It is a bit dusty and there's a lot of aggression around the subway. And they also want to they are going to try to use more plants around it so it becomes a nicer environment. But we're also going to try to put some smell in the subway or in the whole system to see how the trains can maybe bring smell and
because actually you know all the air currents that go with them without the train, you already have the pipeline, so it's
you can use that for smell. And you can see if it makes if it can make the subway a better place to stay or a nicer spot. So you can use smell. You should not use it too extremely. It's best. Smell is an unconscious thing. Normally, we are not aware of all the smells around us. It's very good to get that awake, to awake people and think, oh, let them smell everything that's everywhere. On the other hand, there you can also put too much smell everywhere. It should not be too aware. You get easily worn out when you smell everything all day. So
oversensoriality with smell is something that happens quite fast, actually, almost as fast as with the eyes, I would say. Well, I could stay all the afternoon with you talking about perfumes and using that perspective to understand well how we are as humans, chemical and electrical machines. But maybe the audience has some questions. I don't know, realización, ¿tenemos alguna pregunta por los canales digitales? And if not, voy a preguntarle también
recomiendan cuál es el mejor perfume para Frank.
Oh, they're asking what's your favorite perfume?
What's my favorite perfume? When I use perfume myself, I don't use my own perfumes because I'm not at work. No, when I work, of course, I smell my own perfumes all the time, and then when I'm going to a museum or to a theater, I would like to smell like something else, and then I use a smell by or a perfume by Chanel Pour Monsieur. It's called. It's kind of the male version of Chanel 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Chanel 5 is kind of the
gold standard.
the gold standard of perfume. Yeah.
So you are classic, huh? It's interesting.
It's a bit of a boring answer. Maybe the people would have expected something more interesting, but yeah.
¿Alguna pregunta más por ahí? Si no, no sé si en la audiencia tenemos alguna pregunta. Recu, por favor.
Si alguien quiere iniciarse en el proceso de creación de perfumes,
Somebody wants
¿algún consejo?
to get started with perfume and aroma design.
Oops.
Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, you can buy some things just in the city. The essential oils you can buy everywhere. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of information online. You can find it, and What I did was I started reading a few books by an American woman, Mandy Aftel, and she writes very clear and very interesting and also not so complex about smell. Mm-hmm. And that helped me very much in getting started, and it's a pleasant way. So this is a good advice, is to find the books of Mandy Aftel. And yeah.
Perfecto. Muy bien, no sé cómo andamos de tiempo, si estamos ya un poquito justos. Me dicen ya que es probable que we're going to have to start the show because we have to prepare the space for the people who are coming for the open day. Así que, Frank, thank you. Es que ricasco. Muchas gracias.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It was a true pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah.
You know, when we met you in Amsterdam during the summer, I thought, we have to bring him to Maker Faire the sooner the better. And I can only promise you that we will try to create a community around your work here, and we'll hope to make you proud, and we'll get more people,
would be great. Yeah.
Including smell, not only as a perfume on itself, but maybe also in different interactions. You know, we've talked about some hardware projects that could eventually include smell also, and definitely something that we will keep an eye on, and we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
Pues muchísimas gracias a todas y a todos. Miro la cámara una vez más y os recuerdo que mañana seguimos todavía con las conferencias. Mañana vamos a hablar de NFTs, que también se puede llamar criptoarte. Si tenéis inquietud por el arte, si sois artistas o os interesa todo el mundo relacionado con los criptoactivos, Marcanet y Bárbara Gurria lleva, que ya les conocemos de Maker Faire Bilbao y son unos de los artistas new media más importantes de su generación, nos hablarán desde su nuevo hogar en Hong Kong, desde la perspectiva crítica que siempre ellos han mantenido con el tecnocentrismo, pero de las oportunidades también que se generan para los artistas con estos nuevos mecanismos que permiten redistribuir el valor de una obra de manera automática. También hablaremos con César García, que es también un clásico y que nos va a hablar de algo que es muy importante también, de cómo se mide el impacto de los Fab Labs y de los Maker Spaces, qué Fab Lab y qué Maker Space hace un buen trabajo social, cuáles no. ¿Cómo se puede medir eso? César lleva varios meses estudiando eso mientras estaba cuidando de su primera hija, así que vamos ahora a beneficiarnos todos de ese parón que ha hecho del resto de cosas y a ver qué nos cuenta. Y también hablaremos con Delia de Fab Lab Cuenca, que nos va a contar pues, la maravillosa historia de este Fab Lab que está donde pues, Cuenca existe, ¿no? Y donde llevan varios años ya generando no solamente comunidades, pero sino también llevando el Fab Lab a los pueblos de la Castilla Profunda con una camioneta Maker Space que está enseñando impresión 3D, fabricación digital en todas las plazas del pueblo. Nos contará también su experiencia durante la pandemia, donde nosotros colaboramos con ellos aquí y Mayer, la fábrica de inyección de plástico de la cooperativa Mondragón aquí en Vizcaya, nos facilitó el molde de inyección y en cuestión de días una fábrica de inyección de plástico en Cuenca estaba fabricando viseras por miles en un momento que era bastante crítico, que todos ya recordamos y que, bueno, ya por lo menos está lejos, aunque el bicho siga cerca y seguimos estando un poco alerta. Y a todas y a todos los que participáis en el taller, muchísimas gracias. A los que nos veis por las redes sociales, merci y es que ricasco. Y una vez más, Frank, thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thank
see
you.
you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.